Welcome to Firearms Friday, coming to you from the Wyoming State Museum here in Cheyenne. My name is Evan Green. I'm the firearms historian here at the State Museum, and for the last 3 or 4 years I've been going through the collection of firearms here and recataloging some of them, doing some research, trying to connect some of those firearms to individuals or incidents in Wyoming history. So what do we have here today? We have what is kind of a mixmaster. It is a 1911 45 ACP semi-automatic. And when I say it's a mixmaster, that's because the frame, this lower part, was manufactured by Colt in 1918. The slide, this upper part here, was made by Ithaca between 1941 and 1943. So for those of you who may have questions about a semi-automatic firearm, let's explain how it works. You load cartridges in this box magazine. The magazine is inserted in the grip of the pistol. You rack the slide, which takes the cartridge off the top of the magazine and inserts it into the chamber. The hammer is cocked, and when the pistol is fired and that hammer drops, then the slide reciprocates again using the recoil force of the cartridge, and that ejects the fired cartridge, inserts a new one into the chamber, cocks the hammer, and the gun is ready to fire again. It has 2 safeties. It has this manual safety right here, and if that's engaged, the trigger can't be pulled. It also has a grip safety, which has to be depressed in order for it to fire. So again, this is kind of a mixmaster of parts from a 1911, the original, and the 1911 A1, which in the 1920s there were some modifications made to the handgun. So I'm a big fan of 1911 style handguns. I shot one for years in competition and practical shooting matches. A variant Colt lightweight Commander in 38 Super is one of the carry guns in my rotation. So I shoot those a lot, and I carry that one with some regularity. So I want to say just a few things about the genius who invented the 1911 pistol, and that was John Moses Browning. The first firearm that he invented was what became the 1885 Winchester. It was a single-shot, falling block, lever-action firearm, and he went on to invent everything from a .25 caliber vest pocket pistol to a 57 millimeter cannon. And in between, he invented machine guns, he invented automatic rifles, semi-automatic shotguns, a plethora of handguns, and lever-action Winchesters for the Winchester Corporation. And what I did not know until I read a really good biography of him, this is a little hard to come by. I was able to obtain a copy locally. But what I did not know is that he would invent 1 or 2 firearms a year. And he, in fact, invented 40 different firearms that he sold to the Winchester Corporation, and they had no intention of ever manufacturing those firearms, but they didn't want him to go down the street to another gun manufacturer and sell those patents. And some of these are just strange-looking guns, but he was, in fact, a genius and firearms inventor. So who did this belong to? Well, it belonged to Edgar Herring. Interesting guy, neat guy. He was in the Missouri National Guard shortly after the turn of the century, and his unit was activated to go to the Mexican border. for the Mexican Punitive Expedition or the Mexican Expedition. And this came about because Pancho Villa, a Mexican revolutionary, had crossed the border and raided the town of Columbus, New Mexico. And although I'm not real clear on the details, I believe that he hoped to obtain firearms and ammunition on that raid. So that upset President Wilson, and he sent John Pershing, and George Patton, who was a lieutenant at the time, were sent to the border along with Edgar Herring with the Missouri National Guard to pursue Pancho Villa. And they crossed the border, but they didn't catch him. So Edgar went on. After that expedition, he was offered the opportunity to attend school to become an officer. And he was a lieutenant attached to an artillery unit in World War I. And I'm not sure, I believe it was in World War I where he was wounded at least once, if not twice, and received the Purple Heart. So between 1921 and 1958, he was in Cheyenne. He was employed by the Burroughs Corporation, which manufactured and serviced office machines. So my assumption is he had a area he was responsible for that may have included Wyoming and parts of Colorado, where he sold and serviced those machines. So World War II rolls around. He's 50 years old, and he enlists and says, "Put me where you can use me." He was given a commission as a captain, eventually made major, and he stayed stateside, which was probably a good thing at his age, and was attached to military police units on the East Coast. And he acquired this firearm prior to volunteering for World War II. When I tried to do research on him, and not much out there, surprisingly, his wife was Fern Lord Herring, who was a noted artist. The Wyoming State Museum has some of her canvases, some of her work. She was nationally known as an artist. So a lot of information out there about her, not much about Edgar, who passed away in 1969, and his widow donated this handgun. Sad, they had one child. They had a boy, John, who was killed in Europe at the Battle of the Bulge in 1945. So, sometimes I get attached to the people who are connected to these firearms, and Edgar seems like a really stand-up guy. When his country needed him, he stepped forward and volunteered his services. So, Edgar Herring and a Colt 1911 semi-automatic handgun. So if you've got questions or comments about anything we've done or are doing, you can put those comments in the section below. If you want to be notified when our Firearms Friday videos post, you can hit the subscribe button. We try to put one up every other Friday. So again, thank you for watching.